What is happening, guys? So the reason why I didn't go live today is because I got home way too late for it to be reasonable. So it is what it is. Next time, I don't know. So, however, I do have a visitor tomorrow, one of my subs that I've seen multiple times already in person. But I always go to LA to see him. This time, he's coming here. And I'm just really happy about that. This is a fantastic person. His name is Nigel, and he's originally from England. And his outlook on life and his philosophy is really deep and really interesting and positive, which is something I need more of as my own outlook. So anyway, um, I just wanted to talk about the progress of the show, The Good Place, because I'm not done with the show yet, but it's reached a really interesting point, which has really made me think deeply about the possibilities of what and where we could be and all sorts of things. And there's a bunch of children playing outside late at night. I don't know why, but there's a lot of background noise right now, so sorry about that. So, what ended up happening at this point is that they um, can't get to the good place from the afterlife itself. Um, they try to go through all these bureaucratic loopholes and they went to go see the main judge, right? Which is really difficult to even reach. And this main judge has sort of tested them. She has given them kind of ethical tests to see if they are able to pass those tests, and then they'll be granted access to the good place. Um, However, it was deceitful. The types of tests, and the situations sort of made them inevitably fail or be not good enough for the good place, obviously, right? So they were rejected. And as a result, they were offered to go back in time. And instead of dying at that moment, they continue to live and are able to make amends during the rest of their lives if they didn't die to try to get to the good place when they eventually do die. So they were sent back in time to try to live again. And basically, the Ted Danson, which is like their main demon, they call him the demon, who sent them back. He was the one who made the fake good place. He's a very important character here. He's the one that oversees everything that's going on, basically. So actually, his character saves their lives during the moment of their death, sort of like an angel figure, so that they can continue living. And so, kind of through some rather arbitrary means, they try to kind of influence them on the earth side to try to help them do good decisions. And how they do that is that they regularly access the earth plane. I'm talking about Ted Danson and characters like him. They access the earth plane to try to get these characters to do good ethical things so that they could be on the road to the good place, right? Because remember, they didn't die anymore. So, of course, should be as clear as day. What ends up happening is that no matter what they do, they don't um, end up being ethical enough, moral enough, good enough. There's always some sort of loophole or curveball that comes their way that throws them off from being on that particular path that you need to get to the good place, which I don't know if you noticed, but that has happened a lot in my life where you seem to be tested, right? Your character is tested to see if you have self-control to see if you get angry about things, right? To see if what you would say, what you would do. And of course, sometimes you do good, right? And other times you're terrible. Maybe it's a bad day, maybe it's a bad mood, but either way, it almost at times seems to be perfected in a way to trigger you for you to have that specific reaction too. And that's actually especially apparent in this new Mandela affected realm where everything seems orchestrated and staged to a degree for you to make those types of choices. Whereas the previous realm, things were kind of more chaotic and seemingly random, um, where they are like a machine in this world. And what if that happened to some of us? I mean, that's crazy, even by my standards. What I'm saying is, what if there are people here who died? And I'm not talking about near death experiences, right? Like they go back to their body. I'm talking about they actually died, but they were sent back in time to not die. And I'm sure many of you have heard glitch in the matrix stories. I've read plenty of these on multiple social media sites of stories where people were absolutely certain that they were driving and that they crashed into a tree. But the second that they hit the tree, they just find themselves driving on the highway again. Or other similar type situations where they know 100% they're about to die. And at like a split second, they just find themselves in another place. So did they die? And were they sent back, shifted to another realm in order to continue living life? Um, do I believe that that kind of thing is accidental? No, nothing is accidental. There's nothing, and they actually go really deep into free will in this show. And actually, their philosophy on free will in this show is very similar to my own personal philosophy. Whereas, like on the macro level, everything is sort of not necessarily staged, but there's a blueprint for the entirety of all reality and all the possibilities in that contained within that reality. But as an individual unit, you have sort of options or branches to branch off of to go into those predestined sort of pathways before you. And that's sort of what they're implying in the show, The Good Place, what free will is like. However, the demon character insists that that free will is a real thing, which is interesting because it's actually the main characters who died and were sent back, that think this is all staged. That every choice they ever made, that every person they bumped into was for a specific reason so it could have a specific outcome. But the demon, Ted Danson, he's like, no. So he pours water on a character's head and he's like, see, I have free will. So that's really interesting, right? It's free will, really touchy, complex subject. But overall, in the ultimate reality, sure, I guess you have free will, but who is it? Who is the you that's making choices? Who is the me that's making the choice to make this video right now? Who is it? Is it inside my head? Is it out there somewhere? I made a choice to make this video. Did something through me make that choice? Did I just come up with it in my brain? Well, come up with what? Who came up with it? What is in here? Right? So it's a weird thing to think about. But anyway, that is a really interesting dynamic, especially for the Mandela affected people who don't know where the hell we are and everything has changed. We have to ask ourselves, um, is this what we're experiencing here? Sort of like the good place. Um, did we die? Right? Because a lot of Mandela affected people think that we did die and that This is a new realm that we just shifted into. Like the world literally did end in 2012 or whatever, and we shifted into a new place. Perhaps others didn't, and they're left behind. So, or they're somewhere else, in another realm. These are really interesting things to think about. Um, and anyway, that's about it for that one. My stalker came back, not to get off subject here, but there's a person that's been messaging me multiples of times, and then they would delete their account. Then they would make another account, message me again, and they would claim to be, oh, they would say some random person's name, and they said, oh, this is the wrong number. And then after that, they would just continue talking and continue talking. And then they would delete their account again. And the same thing, oh, is this Mr. Who and Who? Oh, sorry, it's not. And they would continue talking. I'm like wondering, is this Ted Danson on my phone right here? Because, like, what the hell? This is really, really strange behavior. Okay, even for online trolls, even for, scammers. Like, this is weird. I mean, this is like the seventh or eighth time that this has happened where message me, delete account, message me again, like almost like in a stalker like way, right? And I'm absolutely certain it's the same person, by the way. So anyway, there's that on the progress of the show, um, The Good Place. Let's see where the conclusion leads eventually when I get there. Have a great night.